even when I get angry now, it's not an explosion, I get curious about it, and that's one of the things I've really loved that Crucible has taught me is about getting curious. So it's not just about getting curious about my stuff, it's getting curious about other people's stuff.
Welcome to the Crucible Project Podcast. The Crucible Project is a nonprofit organization committed to creating a world of men and women who live with integrity, grace, and courage, helping them to fulfill their God-given purpose. This podcast will discuss important and sometimes difficult topics while delivering practical life applications with men and women who are currently practicing this work. We are igniting Christ-like change in men and women through experiences of radical honesty and grace.
Everyone, welcome back to the Crucible Project Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jess Donovan, and today I get to have my friend Jolynne Turner on with us, which I am so excited about. She is a leader in our Australian community, which is so much fun, but I won't say anything else. We'll just get to the interview. So Jolynne, how are you?
I'm doing really well, Jess, thank you. And you?
Oh, so good, so good. I'm coming off a retreat, so I could probably be really slap happy over here, but it'll make for a fun interview. So, Jolynne, would you go ahead and tell the people a little bit about who you are? What does life look like for you right now?
So currently I'm the Executive Women's Officer of the Crucible Project Australia. And I've been doing that role for about, I think it's about 4 years now.
Wow.
So Crucible at the moment, that's what my life looks like at the moment. We're really busy hiking up to another weekend in November. So last November we held our first in-person weekend.
Yeah.
The year before that, in August, we had our first online event. We're starting to hike up for that. We're still finishing off our grow groups from last year. And then we have the Women's Soul group happening. We've got social groups happening. On top of that, I'm on the committee. So we're doing all the above stuff happening. My life is Crucible, right? So apart from Crucible, I am mum to two beautiful boys, or men, I should say, 33 and 26. I'm stepmum to another young man, 25, and his sister, who's 29.
Wow.
And I'm partner to Dale, who's also within Crucible. I'm a friend. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. Yeah, I love people, and so people are my life, really. Oh, and my dogs. I one of them is not here. She's passed away last year, but the other one, she's my other baby.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm a mum to dogs as well.
I love that. Lover of the people and the dogs. It's so accurate. It's so evident all over you. Like, it is just easy to tell that you love people and you love people well. And it's even cool to hear that you have, not only cool to hear, but cool to see that you have launched Crucible kind of from the ground up over there in Australia. That's a really huge thing to kind of have this vision and to successfully launch it. And as you said, a little over a year ago, you guys did your first online weekend for the women over there. And then this November, the first in-person, like on the ground weekend, which I actually got to come over for, which was a ton of fun. And so to see your Australian community hold that first weekend so beautifully, and not only did you hold it beautifully, but you actually, like, for us American team that came over, we just saw the way that you guys did community, and it was so beautiful and so powerful. So I'm curious, like, because those kinds of leadership skills, that kind of ability to build something and make it beautiful, doesn't come naturally to everyone. So where did those pieces in your life come from? Like those leadership skills, that ability to build community? Like, it's obvious that you are a natural lover of people, but I'm curious what the journey looked like in getting from where you are now, like all the way back. Like, what did that look like to build those
Oh
skills
gosh.
in you?
Yeah. If you were going to ask me if I was a leader, I would say no.
Mm,
Um, I don't ever, like, I've never wanted or aspired to be a leader.
yeah.
Um, and I've taken up roles because I'm really passionate about what's going on.
Hmm.
Um, I think a lot of my skills actually came from raising kids. So I was, a single mum for a lot of years, 27 years really. I
Wow.
was a single mum and a stubborn ass person. I'm the oldest child. So, I make the rules, you obey the rules, or I'm going to punish you out of that, um, so yeah, I guess there was some of that that happened there, and I just expected my kids to, to pull their weight in the family because
Mm,
that's what we had to do, and they did. Um, and then I started working for jobs that I really loved. So I'm really quite passionate about people with disabilities and supporting them in um, valued roles,
yeah.
socially valued roles. And so I became a really strong advocate for people with physical and intellectual disabilities. And so I ended up becoming a manager at a house there, looking after the house and managing the staff there and supporting our people to live the best life they could live. And and the first time I did that was a great team, really tight. So I learned lots of really good stuff. The next
Mm,
team was one that was not so good and not so tight. So I learned lots of really good stuff.
yeah.
And it was hard, like hard along the way. Um, but stepping into the Crucible space, um, because yes, I have been with us from the beginning here. We came over to the US in 2017 to do a weekend. That was before Crucible
Mm,
Women was around.
hmm.
And the team of women that went over, we came back and we really wanted it to come to Australia for our women. So we worked and worked. There was another lady, Lynn, who was sort of our leader at the
Hmm.
time unofficially. She got really burnt out and I stepped in to help her. And then the next thing I know, I'm stepping into this space and it's like,
Yeah.
uh, whoops. And so I've had lots of support.
Yeah.
So um, along the way, I'll say I've had really good mentors. I've had
Mm,
really good support. There's so many skills that you learn through this work that, yeah, you get to sit up and own your own BS and you get to go, yes, okay. Oh, but
uh-huh.
there's
Uh-huh.
also that grey space where you can make mistakes and people go,
Yeah.
you know what,
Yeah.
I see you and let's try again,
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I think that's a fairly good summary.
I
Oh,
love it.
and making mistakes, learning and making mistakes is the
Yeah.
best way. Yeah.
That's a huge part of it. And what I love so much about your story is that you were just faithful in regular places, right? Like, I think that we can often go, oh my gosh, like, what do I have to do to lead? How do I even step into something like that? But those character pieces of leadership were built in you. Hello, like being a stay at home mom, like 27 years of that builds character. And I think your story can be an encouragement for some stay at home moms of like, yeah, nope, I'm doing the routine thing daily again and again and again. But that routine builds faithfulness and it builds endurance and it builds stamina that's needed, right? And so to see you be someone who can now watch something go from the ground up, it looks like a lot of faithful little steps. And I think you model that so well. And even to hear about your job since then, where you became such a strong like advocate for others. I find that we do that so much in the Crucible space. Like, it is empowering others, it is advocating for others, it is getting to encourage women to step in. And it takes that, like, yep, I'm going to deal with my BS myself so that I can equip others, and what that looks like is huge. So, I mean, what a journey. Now, I know that you said that you kind of did your own like soul work journey in the States in 2017. I'm curious, what led you to want to step into your own soul work journey? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so when I was thinking about this, I really looked back at who I was. And
Mm,
while I'm really proud of the fact that I raised my kids on my own and, I taught them some good values, I also I was an emotionally unhealthy person.
mm,
Um, I was, oh gosh, I could carry off so much public appearance stuff,
yeah.
and then I'd get home and it would all fall to pieces. I would
Mm,
be a crying mess who went through depression. I would be an exploding bomb who just lost her temper at the silliness, things I wasn't even angry about, but I just lost my temper because I was angry. And
yeah.
um, and I had no way of, I just was not a healthy person. And
Mm,
I looked at my relationship. So I wasn't, it wasn't like I was having a relationship every year or anything like that, but I had more relationships than I would want to have had. Um,
mm,
but they were all unhealthy. And I remember someone, my ex mother in law, actually, or one of them, she said something to me that really cut deep. And I actually really respect and love this person even
mhm,
today. And she said to me, what's common? What's the common denominator in all of this?
mm.
And at first I was like, no, I'll tell you where to go, give you the birdie, just, you can just go away. Thanks very much, in a not so nice way.
Yeah, yeah.
But when I actually sat and thought about it, and it was so true, it's me who was not able to speak clearly my wants and my desires. So I would
Mm,
just go along with whatever came along, I would go. And then all of a sudden I go, actually, this isn't what I want.
yeah.
This isn't how I want to live my life. And so then that would blow up. And then I started to look at what their legacy was that I was going to leave my kids.
Mm,
Was it going to be this broken, stoic, arrogant, horrible, stubborn person? Or is it going to be someone that listens and cares and wants the best for those around them and creates healthy spaces and safe spaces? And
yeah.
my youngest son, he had some really dark depression stuff, which I had been through as well. So
Mhm.
I know where he was in that. But he had these men that I admire and trust. So my dad's best friend and Dale, who is my
Yeah,
partner now.
yeah.
So Athel and Dale sort of stepped in, and they said, if you ever want to do a weekend, we'll be there and we'll staff it. And my son said, yeah. And so he jumped in, he did this weekend, and he was supported not just by Athel and Dale, but by this community of men.
Wow.
Um, and he came out of that weekend and he was healthy in that he started to own stuff, and
Mm,
go,
mhm.
yeah, my room's a mess because I don't tidy it. And if I don't like it that
Come
way, I have
on.
to do something about it.
Mhm.
Now, that's like a really basic sort of deal, but that's
Yeah.
really where he started to step up. And, he said, well, if I don't have a job, then I need to start to work towards
Mm,
getting a job. And so he
mhm.
really started to own up and he started to talk about his emotions. And he was very closed before that around his emotions. So he used to step up and say, Mum, I'm not having a good day. And I just watched this kid turn into a man, and I just went, you know what, I want that.
Wow.
The other thing is that he went through so much bullying when he was younger, And he started to stand up and say, guess what? I don't have to put up with that. I know who I am and I see my gold. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to see my gold. Like, so it was really him stepping into that space and him owning all of like his gold and his shadow and being a person of integrity and
Yeah.
speaking really cleanly about emotions. And I'm going, oh my goodness, I really want to be that. And it awakened a desire in me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I eventually went off to do my weekend. So yeah.
Wow, Joe, that is so powerful. And I love your honesty in those spaces. Like I resonate with that so deeply where I could be the person who had that public image that was so polished and painted and, was unintentionally living in that way. Like we don't know until we know that there's a better way. Um, and so it makes sense that home was that safe space, really, to untether. In that untethering, like we need to let that stuff go somewhere. And sadly, that place is often home, right? And so I was so similar in the fact of like I would have it all together. And I'm more of a like inward imploder. So I would watch it all inwardly implode, when I got home. um, and what I didn't realize was that I was actually just super out of integrity with myself and with others, honestly. Like I thought that when others said, "Hey, how are you doing?" I'd have to say, "Oh, really great," when that actually didn't match what was going on inside. And so I think that discovering that piece of integrity of, oh man, like if what's inside isn't matching what's actually going on outside, I'm out of integrity and it's going to leak out somewhere, like whether that's exploding at a loved one or whether that's depression or, like whatever it is. And so I am with you, like, and I think your story can resonate with so many. And what a cool gift. Like, I think it is such a treasure that you get to watch that all in your son and to see this difference in your own kid and to go, okay, I want some of that. So I mean, what a powerful thing. And obviously, there is so much transformation that has happened in your own journey. So I'm curious, as you were on your soul work journey on your weekend, what was it that you discovered about yourself?
Yeah. Um, some of it I don't really like what I discovered,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm okay with that. Um,
Yeah.
so, my first weekend, I actually discovered where I stopped being able to be an advocate for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really strong and sometimes quite aggressive and not always
Mm-hmm.
healthy, but I was a really good advocate, really strong advocate for other people.
Wow.
I was not an advocate for myself.
Mm.
Um, and I learnt on my weekend where I lost my voice around that
Wow.
space. The other thing is, I carried into my weekend, 27 years of being a single mum and the burden that was. And it weighed
Mm.
heavy on me. Um, there's such a responsibility there. It's deep. It's heavy.
Yeah.
And I felt that, and I felt a lot of sadness around that. So my first weekend, I got to find my voice
Mm-hmm.
that I can advocate for myself. And that's still a journey I guess I'm still on because, we're learning creatures.
Sure.
And I also get to realize the joy of of being a mum, like that
Mm.
joy of being a
Mm-hmm.
parent. And, um, one of the things that I have learned to do around that is I would constantly ring up, especially my eldest son.
Yeah.
He was so much older, and I had an alcohol problem. I had a drug
Mm.
problem. I was just not a healthy person,
Mm-hmm.
and there was so much hurt that I offered him And so I would ring up and I'd say, Lee, when this happened when you were little, I'm so sorry. And I'd be in tears. I'd be absolutely devastated. And he'd be like, Mum, it's okay. I don't want to talk about this. Just bye. And he'd hang up.
Wow.
And I came out of that weekend and I actually now get to ring my son and go, Lee, remember when we went here and we did that? That was just crazy. And like, I had so much fun with you when you were, and we will have a conversation.
Wow.
You know, it's not a, I don't have time for this and hang up. It's a, we get to talk and we then talk about other things. So I get to value the joy of being a parent. So that's what I came out of my first weekend like. But the reality is a lot of my growth has actually happened through my growth group and my soul groups, and staffing weekends and second level weekends. That's been a really sweet space. For the first time last year in September, since I first started this work, I actually could be in a room where other people were angry, but not taking it out on me. Like they were just angry.
Yeah.
So I couldn't actually do any of that work. Like I couldn't. I remember Dale changing a light bulb one day at my old house. This is when we were first started dating, and the screws, you know, it's an old house, they're rusted, and nothing's going the way it should be, and you know, there was a few blue words coming out, and I was just petrified. I was so petrified that he was going to leave me because the light wasn't fitting in well. I think it was a fan, actually, an exhaust fan. So like my whole world was falling apart because he was changing a light fan and had said a blue word. And now I can sit there and go, you know what, that's your stuff. You deal with that. And I can be okay now. So I'm not afraid of anger. You know, I guess there's still some, especially, I guess, if it was ever directed at me. But for me, that was such a huge, huge thing, because then I get to own my own anger. And I get to say, oh, I'm feeling angry. Oh, what am I angry about? And I'll go to snap. And sometimes I still do snap. Sometimes, you know, it loses it. But most of the time I can catch it and go, oh, actually, I'm not angry that he put the toilet roll on the other way. I'm angry because when he went out, I asked him to get the bread and he didn't get the bread.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, that's a very basic, and it's not actually a real example because I'm the one that puts it on the toilet paper on the wrong way. But, you know, only once, by the way. I guess the thing is I can actually look at my anger and work out where it really belongs, who it belongs to, and what I got to do about that. You know, sometimes I need to actually deal with that. Sometimes I need to pray about it, let God deal with my heart first, and then go to that person and deal with it. And sometimes I just got to go to God and say, I've got to let it go, you know? And I can do that now, you know, and that's what, 6 years, nearly 6 years it's taken me to do that within this work.
Oh my gosh.
But that's my journey.
It is your journey. Yeah, I love that you say that's my journey, right? Because I think we can think like, okay, I need to go to a weekend. We leave the weekend and not everything is solved. And it's like, welcome to it. Like, yes, this is so good on uncovering things, allowing us. It's like we are taking off a pair of old glasses for the first time and putting on a pair of new ones and going like, oh yeah, this like is different. Like I can see differently. But just because we see differently doesn't mean that everyone around us suddenly sees differently. And so we got to start uncovering like, hey, there's all of this stuff here. It's not like it suddenly goes away. It's like an onion of like, man, there's layer upon layer here. And when we have those messages that we carry, you know, like you were talking about the message of like, I am not worth advocating for. So that message often starts, and with that message, we don't realize that it has roots that go out in so many different directions. So the weekend is beautiful where we can like chop one of those roots off and go, okay, yep, nope, I recognize there was something here and feel some freedom. But real talk, like the roots are still out in many different directions. So something can come up with that anger and we can go, whoa, like where did that come from? It was part of the root system. And so there is so much that is there. But I love that what you talked about is like, even amidst the journey, part of that was learning that you are worth advocating for. And it is so cool to me and wild to me to see, like, in a person like you, that you advocate for others so well. But that was such a eye-opening and important thing to you of like, wow, yeah, I am worth advocating for. And I love seeing that in your journey of like you discovered that you were worth advocating for, and all of a sudden in something as simple as changing a light bulb, you're like, yep, nope, that is your stuff. Like I am free to own my own stuff. um yeah, I mean, like what a huge shift. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is. And I don't feel the same. Even when I get angry now, it's not an explosion, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I get curious about it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the things I've really loved that Crucible has taught me is about getting curious. So
Yeah.
it's not just about getting curious about my stuff, it's getting curious about other people's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if I see someone and they're getting riled up or, you know, and they're just letting rip at me, I actually am like, okay, tell me what that's about. You know,
Yeah.
what's really
Yeah.
going on for you? Um, and that was, yeah, in a fairly close relationship of mine, not my partner, but
Mm-hmm.
in another really close relationship, that was actually a really critical point for me in turning point in my relationship with them was I used to be the one that it was okay for them to just let rip at me. Um,
Wow.
and I would go away devastated and destroyed
Mm-hmm.
about that. And it would take me months of recovery. Um, but the last time it happened, I actually just stood there and I'm like, I'm really sorry that that's going on for you.
Yeah.
You know, how can, how can I support this space so that you feel more comfortable? And it was just this whole entire shift because I
Mm.
got curious. And so I like
Yeah.
getting curious now, even when it's good and it's celebration stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I guess I saw the difference when you guys were here, when the American team were here.
Mm-hmm.
I know that as women, we tend to not hold ourselves up so much. But the Americans are much better at doing it than the Australians. We just beat ourselves down all the
Huh.
time, right? All the time.
Wow.
And so to watch and ask women when they're getting excited about something and then they realize they're excited and then they just curl up and they go, oh no, I can't be excited about that. And so they
Wow.
change the subject and move on. And it's like, no, hang on, stop. You need to celebrate that stuff because
Yeah.
that's amazing. Well done you for overcoming this. And, you know, what might be a little speed bump to me is a mountain to somebody
Yeah.
else. And
Yeah.
what's a hurdle to me is like a puddle for someone else. You know,
Wow.
everyone's journey is so different. And if we get
Mm-hmm.
curious about what's going on for the other person, we hear the other person and we get to love the other person in such a special, gentle way that creates these amazing connections where people want to feel, they do feel safe with you and they come and they
Mm-hmm.
talk to you and they share with you. And that's how they get to call you on your BS. You know, so another one of my growth things is that people have been able to call me on my BS now. You
Yeah.
know, whereas
Yeah.
before, if someone criticized me, it'd be like, oh, you can't criticize me. And then I'd beat myself up 10 times worse
Mm-hmm.
and I would just be left destroyed. And now I can have somebody say to me, hey, Joe, you know what? I really think you need to start working on your integrity. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, making sure I'm on time for dinner or an appointment. is I don't know why it's a hard thing for me, and I really
Yeah.
make a conscious effort now to be on time for things. And
Yeah.
I still stuff up, but I stuffed up the other day, and one of my closest friends, and she said to me, "Joe, I've just got one thing to say about today.
Mm.
um, well, I've got a negative and a positive, but my negative is you said you'd be here at such and such, and you were here at this, and we didn't talk until this,
Wow.
and I feel really angry about that because this is what was going on for me." And I was like, oh, wow. I don't even
Mm.
feel destroyed about that. I actually honor that that's what was going on. So
Wow.
I feel that I'm growing in that people can now say, that's, you need to, step up your game there.
Sure.
And I love doing that because I'm a goal orientated in some ways.
Hmm.
So give me a goal to aim for, and that's what I'm going to do.
Wow. I mean, what a huge shift, right? From the person who exploded over, like little things, right? Back then to then come into the space and it's all about what's going on inside for you. So you were able to get curious with yourself and now am able to get curious with others, which is a huge, huge shift. And I discovered the phrase recently and something I'm doing with my church called compassionate curiosity. And so it is so big when we can get first compassionately curious with ourselves to go, man, I see that there's some anger there. What is that? Oh, yeah, that triggers this. And to give that part of us compassion to say, like, man, I see that that's really big for you. And it makes sense that that's big for you. And then to give that compassionate curiosity to someone else as well and say, like, I am curious, like, what came up there? And the compassion aspect really changes it. And that's what I see you talking about is that compassionate curiosity. And in that is this empathy for others of going like, man, that makes sense. Like your friend, right? Of like, wow, I see that there's anger there and you had this going on and trusted me with this space. And what a huge thing. And I love that you as a leader am able to take feedback with grace and with love and recognize that it is sometimes about them. But I love that you also want to grow in your goals and in becoming that like continually integrated leader. I love and honor that so much. I've seen so many leaders who are not that, who are the, complete opposite of that of like, I am not the problem. If there is something wrong, it is clearly about you. And so for you to model this different kind of leadership is huge, and that's going to seep out into your community. And something that I love that you talked about as well is how you have compassionate curiosity for the people who are experiencing hard things, but then also for the people who are experiencing excitement and joy and celebration. And I think that we get that so wrong. Like, even over here, we just don't celebrate others well, whether that is, comparison or like envy of like, man, they have that and I don't, and I'm jealous, or whatever it is. And so you are modeling scriptural leadership of like, we are to weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice. And so it all, again, though, stems out of that place of, I know that I'm secure in myself. And so what they have doesn't take away or whatever, like from what I have going on, which is a huge, huge shift. So, I mean, I hear a ton of gold in all that you talked about already, but I'm curious as you have led, as you did your weekend, continue to do your work, like what is the gold that you recognize in yourself?
Yeah, so I guess it goes back to that celebrating other people,
Mm-hmm.
especially women. There's a Facebook meme that goes around every year or couple of years, whatever, that says, "Be the woman who straightens another one's crown
Yeah.
without telling anybody else." you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what an amazing space. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
just can imagine being that lady in waiting and walking up behind the Queen's throne and just sticking my hand around the corner and just going, boop, popping that crown back on properly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's, I guess that's one thing.
Yeah.
And then a lot of reading of Brené Brown and understanding um, how I show up in my shadow.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, we talk a lot about our gold and our shadow. Um, and my gold comes out of my shadow,
Mm-hmm.
actually. So,
Mm-hmm.
for me, what makes me really, really happy is when I'm a part, even if it's an unseen part, an unspoken part, if I'm a part of another woman's journey or another person's journey, really,
Yeah.
and they get to achieve what they want to be. They
Yeah.
get to be
Yeah.
all that they want to be. When they get to stand up and go, woo, I've arrived, or woo, I made it another step up
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
another rung of the ladder. I get to celebrate that and I get to feel really proud of that. That's really where I get my joy from. So if I can create a safe space, if I can create even a challenging space where people have to step up and do things that they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
And I go, well, okay, how about you try this or try that? Or, you know, what do you think you could try? Or, you know, and I'm still learning how to do that, but that is where I get my really amazing joy is
Wow.
from helping other people achieve what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. And man, there's so much in there. Like that is gold, right? And so I think often in leadership, like we have the recipe of like, this is how you successfully step into success. But what I love that I'm hearing is that you lead from a step behind of like, nope, I see that this is somewhere they can go, but I know that they can get there themselves with this little like push and encouragement from me. And so to lead them in that space of like, I see this gold in you, and I'm going to empower you to do that well. Um, that gift of empowerment is definitely one that you hold. And I've seen it replicated so well in your community in this space of authenticity and grace. And yeah, there's just so much that's wrapped up in it of like, of I'm going to allow you to call me out on my BS. I am going to empower you to recognize your own as well. And your gold in that too. Like you are an integrated person. And I love that you shared earlier. You're like, yep. And I mess it up again and again. And I'm still stepping on it. Like, welcome to the journey that is we're going to mess it up again and again, but it's giving ourselves and others that grace and continuing on. And so speaking of continuing on, it's been so fun to watch the journey that you and your community have been on doing your first in-person retreat. So I would love to hear some of like what is next for you guys over there in our lovely Aussie community.
Yeah. So we're really excited. There's definitely three of the Australian women which are coming over to staff September and September October weekend. So the Chicago and Connecticut
Oh my
weekends.
gosh. Yay.
Um, I'm gonna come a bit earlier so I can do the Mission and Purpose second level weekend
Mm,
in Wisconsin. Um, and we have, so over here, we actually have an amazing men's community
wow.
that have been really key to our foundation and setting up this strong community.
Mm-hmm.
They're very supportive. So we have certified leaders over here, and they're so creative at thinking of ways in which we can work towards our certification.
Yeah.
So we've
Yeah.
got a group of women on our leadership tracks to get certified weekend leaders and certified carpet leaders and certified
Wow.
group leaders. So we're really working towards that space. And it's beautiful because, yeah, the journey does continue for
Mm-hmm.
all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes Crucible so unique from everything else. It's not once I get to this point, then
Yeah.
I don't need to learn anymore. It's
Yeah.
actually when I get to that point, oh man, have I got so much more to learn. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're going along that journey, and we have men that are so supportive to help us with, with any practice, carpet
Mm-hmm.
practice, anything like that. We do have our next weekend coming up in November.
Come on.
That will be on the website soon, I'm hoping.
Yay.
Um, and we're going to have a training while the US ladies are over here as well. So another carpet training. So we can work towards that carpet facilitation
Yeah. Yeah.
certification. Yeah, so I will actually officially step down from my exec role
Wow.
at the end of June. Um,
All right.
yeah, I've sort of been officially in that role for about 4 years, but
Yeah.
I've been heading things with my other with Lynn since 2017, since we got back, trying to get a weekend happening. So I'm tired, and I really
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
focus now on just getting certified as weekend leader, and then on to
Wow.
carpet leading. So. And we have got such amazing women stepping up into our community now
Mm-hmm.
with such energy for
Mm-hmm.
this space. So, um, I have big dreams. I'm not really great at the whole. This is how we get there. I just kind
Mm-hmm.
of,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Jake Hess that says, "I just get there and what up." I love that phrase. I just, show up.
Oh, that's so good.
Um, but we have women that are really dedicated now, and
Mm.
and are really pinpointed in directions that they want to take things. And so I'll still be part of the leadership community.
Yeah.
And I do think that our community has become a really inclusive, but I can't think of the word. A cohesive team. We
Mm-hmm.
don't. It's not one person running off and saying this is how we're going to do things. It's actually the team coming together and saying, this is what I think, and someone else will say, oh well, I agree, but I really need to go here, or
Mm-hmm.
think we should do this. And so we actually work together around what's going to be best for the community. um, and so I'm proud
Yeah.
of our team. I'm so proud of the women that we have, and the people that have just gone through we had a lot of young people go through our
Yeah.
weekend last November, and watching them step up and go, oh, I think I might want to step into this space. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so supporting them around that as well. It's exciting watching this community grow, and hopefully next year we'll have had 2 weekends, and so we'll have enough women that we can run another second level. And yeah,
Oh my
we're excited.
gosh. That is so exciting. And I I just love the honest space of like, yep, nope, I am leading. I am tired. I am continually excited. Like it is beautiful. And I think that you have modeled the holding the baton and then getting to pass it off so well as well. And that is hopefully that's the goal of leadership, to make a space where you can run with your baton, you can run your race, and hopefully be able to pass it along to someone else. Like that is what a healthy leader looks like, getting to say like, I got to hold it for my season.
I remember reading a statement where
Mm-hmm.
it said that the mark of a good leader is that when they step down, there's no
Mm-hmm.
vacuum. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
there's no vacuum. That people know where to go. They still continue
Mm-hmm.
as a team. They still continue as a solid team.
That's right.
And I look, I've put my heart and soul into it, and I
Yeah.
know that I haven't been perfect, and I've had people to
Of
call me on
course.
stuff. But I'm proud of what I have done in this
Mm-hmm.
community, and I'm proud of the community that we have, and that I get to still be a part of it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I believe that it is. We are now just stepping up to the next
Mm-hmm.
rung, and and we're going to keep going,
Oh
strength to
my
strength.
gosh. Come on, baby. And I am stoked to get to watch it. I love the excitement there. I love that you have held that baton so well. And I'm excited that there are so many young people, as you said, who are doing their work early so they can start to show their communities like, hey, this is what full integrity looks like. This is what living well looks like living life to the full, getting to fully be in our sorrows together, but then also getting to fully be in our celebrations together. Like that is the beauty and hope of this is what a strong community looks like. Oh man. So Joe, I could go on forever. Like I might just write a leadership book based off of all the lessons from today. I love it. I think it's so good. But man, friend,
you,
I am
Jess.
grateful for you. So keep running, girl.
The feeling is very, very mutual, Jess. You are so loved and treasured.
You're
just precious.
Oh.
I love your energy so much. I wish I could just like sap you all up, you know, and then I could just keep going and do everything, you know.
I love it. I love it. Well, I burn out too. Fun fact for life. So.
Yeah.
Oh man, but this time has been gold. So thank you, and we will see y'all next time.
All right. Thanks, Jess.
For more information about our weekends, please go to thecrucibleproject.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Rate and review wherever you are listening and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. Also, don't forget to check out myjourney2.com for your free 2-week trial. That's myjourneyto.com. Thank you for listening.